Hello, everyone. Welcome to the undergraduate webinar series, an interactive online platform connecting high school students to Ashoka community. Thank you for joining us for today's session, charting a roadmap from college to careers, placement and higher education after Ashoka. I'm Jinal Shah, Assistant Director for Outreach at Ashoka University. This is a very special webinar as today we talk about careers and placements at Ashoka from two different perspectives. Without further delay, I would like to welcome our panel of speakers. We have with us Urmi Singh, who's a Senior Director in the Career Development Office at Ashoka University. She's based in Bangalore and is largely responsible for outreach for both placements and internships. Welcome, Urmi.
Thank you, Jinal. It's my pleasure.
Urmi has 23 years of experience in training and development in the FMCG industry. She has worked across industries and has held pan-India roles in organizations such as HUL and Marico. Welcome, Urmi, once again. Our second speaker for today is Jeevish Saxena. Jeevish is an Ashoka University alum from the batch of 2023. He's an economics and finance major and is currently working at Bloom Ventures in the network investment programs. Welcome, Jeevish.
Thanks, Jinal. Thanks for me. Nice to be here.
So before we begin, I'd like to inform our audience that applications for round 3 of the undergraduate program are open and the deadlines for the same is 12th April 2024. Please note that you do not have to wait for your 12th board marks or your CUET to apply. You can get a confirmed offer of admission and financial aid even before your final board results are announced. Now, without further delay, let's get started. Audience, feel free to post any questions that you may have in the Q&A box. We will be taking them at the end of the session. So just start typing in your questions in the Q&A box and we will refer to it very soon. With that, I will begin this webinar and we have certain set of questions for Urmi and Jeevish. We'll begin with that. So Urmi, we'll begin with you first. So can you tell us a little about the placements at Ashoka in terms of the kind of companies that come to campus for recruitment, what all sectors, and what kind of profiles do the students get, selected for? Urmi? Urmi, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Jinal. So before I dive into answering your questions, I would like to tell everyone that we are a 13-member strong team and we belong to the Office of Career Development. This office is largely responsible for placements and internships. We work actively to ensure that those who are looking for opportunity to apply what they learn in their classroom and further in their own learning through internships, jobs, and career options. So the entire Ashoka education is extremely diverse. And because of that, the aspirations are also extremely diverse in Ashoka. And we have to therefore look into everyone's aspirations and call in recruiters as per student choices. And those could vary from larger corporate organizations to very small niche, not-for-profit, social sector, etc. Now, within the larger corporates, we have recruiters that represent the consulting world, FMCG, banking, and technology. So to name a few organizations from consulting, it could be McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Deloitte, A.T. Kearney, from banking, Deutsche Bank, and many others. From FMCG, HUL, Marico, ITC, etc., have been hiring. So it's a large playground for us. Once the placements for these kind of organization is done, the smaller niche organizations come into our campus. Now, this could be startups, media, PR, social sector, not-for-profit, a little bit of pharma because we now have MSc biology as well, so on and so forth. I hope
Oh,
I'm
lovely.
able to answer your question. Would you like me to tell specifically some names of organizations?
No, no, I think you've largely covered a lot of gamut of, industries. But also, what kind of profiles, if you could just, mention few profiles that our students get hired for?
Okay. Again, Jinal, the aspirations are diverse, the skill sets are diverse, and therefore the roles for which the Ashoka students get hired are very, very diverse. We practically fit into every role that you could think of. So, technology roles, for instance, and in technology, there we could be data science, AI, ML, and this is because we have a very robust department of computer science, math, physics, and the life sciences. So a lot of technology role, full stack developer, back end, front end, software development, all of that fits well into Ashoka, right? So that's the technology. From non-tech, our students fit in very well for growth, for strategy, product, content, marketing, sales, and HR. We have also students who fit in well for anything to do with maybe finance. We have a center for entrepreneurship in Ashoka University, and that center is deeply engaged in skilling students in courses that are so called business in nature. So, courses on marketing, advanced marketing, digital marketing, branding, some to do with finance, etc., or are all taken up by this center. So by the end of the third year or the fourth year program, students are equipped enough to take on business roles as well.
Oh, that's lovely. Great. Sure. Urvi, will come back to you.
Sure.
Jivesh, I want you to talk a little bit about yourself in terms of your journey and how was your transition from the university to the workspace like?
Right. Hi everyone, my name is Jivesh Saxena. I did my undergrad from Ashoka, completed my undergrad in economics and finance last year. Did a bunch of courses in economics, finance, but also in other disciplines such as entrepreneurship, computer science, international relations, etc. Uh, Currently, I'm working in an early stage venture capital firm called Bloom Ventures, helping them with sort of a shorter, smaller fund within Bloom called Bloom Founders Fund and their early stage network relations. Coming to how the transition from college to like the corporate setup has been pretty smooth, mostly because I was well aware of where I'll be joining, what role I'll be in. I had multiple conversations with the company before joining, so I was well in advance. So I was well prepared in order to shift to a different city, to a different location. And I think the alum body helped quite a bit. As soon as I graduated, I had access to Ashoka's 3,000 plus alums across the country, especially in Bangalore, where I'm based. So I could take help from them regarding accommodation, take help from them regarding places to visit, places to stay, people to interact with. And I also think that the Ashoka curriculum prepared me well in terms of the workplace etiquettes and the workplace demeanor that is required, especially the entrepreneurship department that Urmi mentioned, because the courses were well aligned to what is expected in the industry, whether it's communication, whether it's how you are able to present to your prospective managers. So yeah, I think in terms of friction, I think there was minimal friction while moving from college to workplace.
So Jivesh, just makes me curious. Which city are you from otherwise? Where have you done your formal schooling education, and
Yeah.
where is your family based? In Bangalore?
Yeah. So I'll just provide
Jivesh,
maybe
you're
a
on
brief
mute.
background before Ashoka. So I was born and brought up in Lucknow, which is a city in Uttar Pradesh, and
Of course.
I completed my schooling in ICSC. I was a pandemic college kid, so I graduated when literally the world was shutting down. So there was a delay in sort of the results of different CBSC, ICSC boards that year. And I joined Ashoka. Ashoka was in fact the only college it started on time because the online setup was just so in sync. The online mechanism, the student dashboards, it was very, very sort of efficient. So Ashoka started on time. And when during my first semester at Ashoka, the results came for different boards as well, right? And I was fortunate enough to get a 99% and got admits to other colleges as well, who usually have very, very high cutoffs. So as is the case, there was a dilemma between choosing like the choice which every student faces. And after speaking to literally 50 plus students who have sort of done their undergrad at different colleges, done their YF at Ashoka, done their UG at Ashoka, and sort of gone on to do their post grad at different colleges, I ultimately came to the conclusion that Ashoka will be the best place for me for a multiple of reasons. And I think that that feeds into my answer for what skills it equipped me with, and I'm happy to share as we move forward with the conversation.
Sure, definitely. We'll come to that as well. So, Urmi, I just want to ask you, how does the Career Development Office actually prepare students from job placements? Does the department help them with CV building, interview? I mean, what all activities are part of the preparatory for students?
So, Jinal, the Career Development Office has dedicated resources to take on something called a career preparatory program. And we are deeply invested and we are very serious about this mission, which is to prepare students for jobs and for internships. And as we are growing, as the department and the office is growing, we are making this program as robust as possible. And right from year one, we are giving them an exposure into training various skill sets that are required to crack a tough selection processes. So the selection processes these days are extremely competitive and students must be very well prepared. So this team within the office, they do various things in terms of professional development, market awareness, interviewing, shortlisting, and how to prepare for the final interview. It involves a lot of different skill sets, right? So right from communication skills, although all Ashoka students do come with a certain level of communication skills, but that needs to be honed further. So communication skills, how to even read a job description, but before that, to tell them how many industries are available and how many different sorts of organizations can come and what do those organizations do. As a part of that, we often have very senior leaders from various multiple different industry, different organized come and talk to our students so that they learn from their journey. A lot of programs are taken care of by the team within the office, and right from year one, which pans up to year four.
Okay, wow, that's fantastic. So, Jeevish, she just spoke about this whole handholding process. So, what was your experience with the Career Development Office while you were shortlisting and applying for jobs? Can you share your few instances,
Yeah. So my experience, my journey into the career workplace was pretty serendipitous because till my third year, I was always like pretty adamant about staying back for the fourth year, which is also called the Ashoka Scholars Program. So in my third year, I didn't actually enroll myself in the placement cycle because the CDO preparatory program starts well in advance. I was attending all the sessions, so I was engaging with the CDO in preparing resumes. So CDO also calls some of the alums. There are very, very thematic sectoral specific sessions where the alums come and share their experience about a certain industry. So at the back of my mind, the shortlisting was already going on based on my engagement with different people who were coming and taking sessions on campus and also virtual. But I was never fully in my mind, I had any plans to apply and take a job at the end of the third year. So towards the end of my third year, in my last semester, actually, Bloom Ventures came to hire on campus, which is also very, very unique about Ashoka because no VC firms in India, they hire on campus, especially at undergrad level. In general, venture capital is an industry which is more suited for MBAs. So usually you will see a lot of VCs hiring MBAs, but Ashoka was perhaps the only campus on which they came for campus hiring. So I ended up applying there because again, my resume was ready because I was engaged with the preparatory program from the beginning. And after multiple levels of shortlisting, speaking to different people, I was offered the role. And what is interesting is that during that entire time of say 2 to 3 weeks in which the role was covered, I always had access to someone from the CDO who would guide me on the next steps. I always had access to an alum who had worked in the industry before, who could guide me that, this is how you should approach your interviews. This is how you should approach the assignment that you've been given. So I think the hand-holding part is pretty apt, as how Urmi has put it. Never in the process did I feel that, I'm on my own. I always had someone in the CDO to answer my questions. And I can also answer it from the other side of the coin, because I was also the part of the placement committee and the internship
Sure.
cell. And there are about 15, 20 students from the batch who are always engaged because again, CDO as a body can't scale to like 650 students, right? So why are the students, and usually I've experienced that students are much more open to share things with fellow peers. So I think that student to student matching also was pretty helpful, because somebody who's quite anxious related to job placements, etc., they can share more freely with the placement committee. And I think that was something that just eased out the entire process.
Oh, wow. Okay. Coming to Urmi, so does CDO also help in acquiring meaningful internships for the undergraduate students at Ashoka?
We do, Jinal. We do.
Okay.
Internship is as big a mandate for us as placements. And right from students who are in year one of undergrad to year two, year one going to year two going to year three going to year four. Those who are going to year four, that is not for all. We are deeply engaged in getting them internship opportunities. But before that, the preparatory program that we both spoke about a while ago is also meant for preparing our students for internships. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we first prepare the students for internship opportunities, and then we bring them the opportunities so that students could pass and crack the selection process. We bring a lot of marquee names into the campus for internships. These are, some of them are extremely prestigious. And then there are, as just as placements, internships also pan out into multiple different organizations, multiple different industry, from corporates, like I said before, from corporates to startups to not-for-profit social sector. So the sectors and the industries more or less remain the same. The
Right.
roles also remain the same, but the engagement then is an internship versus a full-time.
Yeah. Okay. Got that. Yeah. So, Jeevish, where was your internship and what was your learnings during your internship?
Yeah. So I think, again, my first year in college was online, and I was
Correct.
very surprised when even during while the college was online, there was the internship fair which was being held, and my college schoolmates, which were in other colleges, usually it's very rare for someone to offer internships to first years, right? But in Ashoka, I had the opportunity to apply for internships in my first year itself, because on the day of the internship fair, there is something called as walk-in interviews, where you don't need to apply like from before. You can just walk in, choose a slot, and have a conversation with the employer. So in my first year, I interned at this company called Career Labs, which is a startup. And then in my second year, I interned at an FMCG company, which is ITC Limited. Again, which was very interesting because ITC doesn't have its internship program for undergrads. It's usually meant for MBA students, but ITC came for campus hiring. And it was during that experience that I realized that it's easy for students to have sort of a mental block that, I'm an undergrad and I can't operate at the same level as an MBA. But I realized that in my experience while working in a completely different city in Bombay that, you can be as good as an MBA student, and you can bring equally good amount of value on the table. And the second most important thing I learned during that time was the ability to have good conversations with people, because workplace bonds are always formed on a personal level. You can't always be very transactional with people, and I think that's where the multidisciplinary curriculum of Ashoka helped, because you are doing courses in finance, you're doing courses in politics, you're doing courses in great books, you're reading, classics books. So the surface area to have conversations with different people on multiple different things, and the ability to find common grounds just becomes very easy. So I think in my first year and the second year, I sort of covered the entire journey of a firm. Like, I interned at a startup, and I interned also at like a proper corporate setup, and that gave me an opportunity to choose where will I fit in well. And ultimately, in my third year, when I applied to Bloom, I could bring in that experience, explain how I'm adding value to the table, and it just made the process very easy.
Oh, yes. I
Jinal,
could absolutely.
if I may
Yes,
add
yes.
to what Jivesh has just said. Like he rightly pointed out, FMCG typically goes to, business schools for their summer internship and final placements. But HUL is an organization that has been coming to Ashoka past 4 years now. And apart from HUL, we do have other players as well. Like ITC has hired this year, Marico has hired this year, Pidilite hired also. So when I went back to HUL last summer just for feedback, what they told us is that, we are really not replacing the management students. What our students bring is an add-on. They complement the management students. So for instance, if there is a problem that they're trying to solve, the management school students bring a perspective to that problem and their solutions, and our students bring in a different kind of a perspective to the same problem. And net, therefore, the solution is way stronger. And that's how Ashoka is adding value in different organizational setups. Because our education is also broad, and it's not just depth, there is breadth as well. They're learning, as Jivesh said, they're learning multiple different things in Ashoka, because of which they can see a problem from multiple different perspectives. As a result, the solutions are stronger. And I think that's why, clubbed with good communication skills, critical thinking, and problem solving, the students therefore are bringing add-on value to already existing robust systems within various organizations.
Uh, Absolutely, Urmi, I couldn't agree more because I know at Ashoka, the 9 foundation courses that we do, the majors, the minors, I think all of that adds so much to their experience. And as Jivish mentioned, there's so much surface area that you cover that. And in my interaction with any Ashoka alum or a current student, I think they're able to probably contribute into conversations of across different industries, topics, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So with that, I have a next question. And Urmi, this is very specific. So in your experience, does the subject a student has majored restricts them to that industry they get into? Say, for example, say a student has majored in political science, then can he get a job in finance, consulting, or banking? What is your experience?
Jinal, it really depends on the role that has been brought to campus. Certain roles are extremely technical. For instance,
Okay.
the software development, a political science student will not be able to do that. That you would need a certain amount of skill sets from the computer science background, maybe computer science and math, right? So it really depends on the role. But if I have to talk generalistically, then sure, a political science students fits in very well in, for instance, you mentioned consulting. Of course, they would. They could fit in very well in something that is political and extremely technical in their space, but they would fit in very well in other roles such as consulting. To give you an example again from FMCG, our first hire to HUL was an English major, and she went into sales and marketing. So a lot of organizations are not, really fussed about what exactly have you studied. As long as you have the skill set, as long as you fit into their culture and you have the basic attitude, the basic, thought process, you really, it's agnostic or major agnostic. It really doesn't matter. But yes, for certain roles, it does matter. But for most of it, it does not matter.
Yes, yeah. That just reminds me, I just spoke to a student who did philosophy major and got hired by McKinsey.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, these kind
Yeah.
of combinations are very, common. Yes.
As you must be knowing, I'm not too sure if you know, I am also a Ashoka parent. Both my boys are from Ashoka. My younger son, he did pol science, philosophy, and economics. It's an integrated major, and he got
PPE.
picked up by, yes, he got picked up by Deloitte. So again, major agnostic, the consultants are really not looking into which background you come from, but do you have the right mindset? Can you solve a problem? Can you communicate? It's those are the little skill sets that they are looking for, and if you can impress them at the interview level, then you're good to go.
Yeah, yeah. With that, I'll just like to remind our audience, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box, in the Q&A box, and we will come to your questions very soon. Okay, Jivish, do you have anything to add in terms of, your majors to the kind of job roles? Were you very sure that you wanted to get into consultancy, or, or any of your fellow colleagues or students that you want to, talk about?
Yeah, sure. So just to add on to the previous question, like both of you have covered a large majority of it, but I'd just like to point out one thing, which is irrespective of even your GPA, etc. All students are free to apply, to all job profiles that are there. So in many colleges, this is the case that for each a certain job profile, you have to achieve, say, a certain GPA in order to be able to apply. That's not that, at least till now, hasn't been the case at Ashoka. So even if you haven't, say, you're not in like the top 1% student in a certain profile, if you have something that supplements that, the employers, recruiters are happy to look at. So even in my batchmates, I fully agree with both of you. There are two. So one of my friends, he's a political science major, but got offered a role this year at a consulting firm. Another of my friend is a physics major, and he's going to be soon be joining Deloitte. So I think in terms of access and in terms of the ability to apply, there is no barrier as such. You're free to apply to the role you think you are good fit for, and if you prove it to the recruiter, then of course they are happy to hire you. In terms of my translation of my major into the program or the role I'm working in, I think not so much the major, but I was always inclined to this field because of my extracurricular and the engagement I had with the Center for Entrepreneurship. So Center for Entrepreneurship is like a mini accelerator, Y Combinator sort of within Ashoka, where they provide you mentorship, access, guidance, and also funding in some cases if you have a startup idea. And of course, in addition to that, there are also a variety of courses being offered in different industries applicable to different sectors by industry professionals who are coming off with the practical experience. And it's very, very tough to get time with them otherwise. I don't think outside of Ashoka, one would be able to get sort of 30-45 minutes learn from them. So it's incredible the amount of value they bring coming in every week and teaching the students a particular course. So I think just having that exposure, listening from the likes of some of Ashoka's founders who are teaching courses every semester. So I did two or three finance courses from the entrepreneurship department, again, which were very venture capital relevant. And the sort of things that I learned in the class, the insights, especially I got from the people who had been working in the industry for the past 20-30 years. My recruiters were just surprised, that one can have a quality of depth at an undergrad level, just because like the academic curriculum was well supplemented by the industry nature of courses being offered by the CFE.
Yes, no surprise. I have seen Ashoka students, really, I think topping the chart as far as, their understanding and depth of, curriculum or content per se is. Yes. With that,
Jinal,
yes.
if we have time, then I could, just bring in two examples that I think I missed before. And these are two roles. One is product. Our students are doing very well in the product space, which is extremely, exciting. We have a student, somebody, I was reading the Q&A, somebody is asking for psychology. Our student from psychology background currently works in Rapido, which is a bike cab kind of a thing in Bangalore, right? And she's in product. So all her teammates are technology-based people who have come probably from engineering schools. She's the only one from humanities and psychology and Ashoka. Reason being, she feeds into to the engineers what a human mind is looking for, and that is what then gets fed, and a product, there are a lot of mechanisms to it, but then a product finally gets rolled out. So there's just so much of, there's just so much of possibilities from all walks of life and from all majors and all departments. So no more are roles really restricted to just one kind of a role specific, So product is a place where our students are doing well. Analysts are again doing very well. Those roles are also very Ashoka suited. Our students, especially from the departments of comp science, economics, math, are well suited for roles that are very analytical in nature, because they are very sharp with numbers, math, stats, etc. Interestingly enough, our students are also very well suited for executive assistant, chief of staff kind of role with, startup leaders or any other leader. So a couple of years back, for instance, Deep Kalra from Make My Trip had hired a student who was his executive assistant, and he did phenomenally well. Again, the reasons because a chief of staff role would need someone to have great communication skill, who could strategize, who could write well, who could talk well and solve problems. So again, it's very well suited to our education and curriculum. I just thought I'll bring in throw these points out too.
Sure, definitely, yeah. With that, I come to additional question. Udmi, this is for you. So, very briefly, if you can tell us about the master's opportunities for Ashokans after completing the undergraduate degree, what kind of institutes do they go to? If you could just kind of put some light on this.
Sure. So a lot of us, so all our students do not ask for placements, right? A certain number of students every year, register themselves for placements, and a certain number they go for higher education. For higher education, our students have been going to colleges across, across the globe. For instance, we've had Ishita Sehgal from UG19, who has done her PhD from Indiana University, USA. We've had students going to King's College, London, University of Sheffield, Tel Aviv University. So there are truckloads of universities where our students do go for master's programs, for PhD, and our students also receive top scholarships from different kind of universities, such as Harvard. We've had a student, ASP20, who was a quad fellow PhD. He's doing his PhD in Cornell University. Rhodes Scholar of University of Oxford, MA Economics student. So we have had another student who's got a Fulbright scholar. So multiple options for higher education. Students have been doing exceedingly well in higher ed, just as they're doing well in placements.
Okay, yeah, that I think that was very insightful. With this, we are coming to the audience questions now, and we have, I think, questions across different. I think, yeah. Okay, so we'll begin with the first one. Is it recommended to work in any organization during the summer break for a better scope of getting good placements?
Certainly. Certainly. In fact, the one reason why Ashoka breaks for a very long summer vacation, 3 full months, is so that the students are meaningfully engaged in doing internships. And more the internship, the better is your CV, and you attract recruiters, and your expertise, your skill sets, everything grows multifold. So, yes, every student is doing an internship. And if you don't, you definitely do lose out.
Yeah, and for everybody, internships are credited minimum 2 credits to a maximum of 4 credits. So yes, your summer break, as you know, me said, is a long break, and that is where you do internships. Yeah. With that, the next question that we have is: does Google hire from Ashoka? I know the answer, but I think Urmi, I want you to answer this.
Yes, Google does hire from Ashoka. Google has hired in the past, and we continue to engage with Google every single year. The roles that Google has given us are technology. They have still not hired in a completely non-tech space such as HR, etc. But within technology and for the computer science students, Google has hired. Microsoft, I'm just adding on a little bit, has hired
Yeah,
also in the past, but that was a finance role. So the options for Ashoka are plentiful, because our playground is a lot wider and bigger than other schools.
yeah. Also, now we have a question here. What are the career options for a student who graduates with biology at Ashoka?
So again, it depends on what the student wants to do, right? But if you really want to go to a very bio life science specific job, then I'll be honest with you, a undergrad degree is not enough. For a research degree, you have to be at least a MSc, if not a PhD. Right. So just with the undergrad, your options in a completely life science kind of a role is limited. But again, like Jivesh said, one of his friend from physics background is getting into Deloitte. If you want a role like that, if you do not really want to get into life sciences, but with the same skill sets want to get into consulting or any other industry, you could apply. There is no problem. But if it is very specific biology role that you are aspiring to do, then you have to do a little more than undergrad.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Okay, we have another question. So if someone is, say, unsure if they want to take placements or they want to go for higher education, or can they sit for placements even if they've applied to colleges abroad, or they cannot clearly sit for placements at Ashoka? How does that work?
No, he could sit for placements. That's not a problem. And at one point, if he clears a good university, then he is free to drop out of the placement process.
Yeah, so you can keep both your options open, but
Yes.
eventually then you make
Yes.
up your mind. Yes.
We are talking about students who are 20, 21 years old. A lot of time they are really not sure, and they want to explore the world, and we are nobody to stop them. So they can do as register for the placement process, and do simultaneously college application, whatever works out, they can drop off the placement process whenever they get a good offer in hand.
Sure. Okay. We have a student who's asking us, what are the opportunities for student wanting to get into journalism as a field? What kind of placements and opportunities and internships can they expect?
Plentiful. Journalism, a PR, media is a very sought after, industry amongst Ashokan. And we have students every year who get into a lot of, media publication, Anand Bazar Patrika, the print, and many more. They get into those organizations for a lot of different kind of roles. It could be an editing role. It need not be an editing role. It could be a role in marketing. It could be a role in digital content, etc. But a lot of students do get into PR, media, and space.
I thought I could add to this answer
Yes.
because I have
Yes.
second-hand experience actually. So the Ken is actually one of India's top investigative newsletters for business and startups. So again, one of my seniors got a journalist role there. The foreign affairs correspondent at the Mint, again an undergrad alum from Ashoka, who's handling the Twitter handle for foreign affairs at the Mint, and you'll see on the prints YouTube videos, YouTube channels. Recently, one of my undergrad alums has started hosting shows for the print as well as a journalist. So across different spans, whether it's normal political journalism or even business journalism, I've seen some of my alums get into those roles and do well.
Great. Uh, we have a question which where they're asking. So, is there anyone from Ashoka who's been employed with international organizations such as UN, WHO, ILO? Any international placements that we can highlight?
So, Jinal, straight from college, UN does not come and hire, but we do have students who are alumni of Ashoka who, are currently working in United Nations. We have students last year from the World Bank, which directly came and hired from Ashoka. So yes, we do have students. So just to give you an example, we have a student called Akshaya who is currently building evidence for the UN. She's in the city of Johannesburg in South Africa. But then she was not picked up by UN from college. She rose up to that space, right? And she is with the World Food Program. So there are a lot of students from Ashoka in such organizations.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, students, I think it's the UG is your first step to it, and then you grow up, as Udmi said, you do your post graduations, you put more work on your CV, and that is where then you can look at these kind of organizations. Coming to our next question, can you please share a few examples of what opportunities are there for computer science students and the companies that have come to Ashoka? So, very computer science specific question. Yeah.
So I think I have already answered that, Jinal. We have multiple organizations that come for computer science, and the roles that are, like I said, typically are data science, data analytics, full stack developer, front end, back end, software development. Some of the organizations that have hired from Ashoka for computer science are Zomato's, Microsoft, Swiggy, Google. So a lot of startups they hire for tech roles. Amuse Labs, which actually belongs to one of our professor, they hire from Ashoka. So there are a lot of IBM has hired from Ashoka. Our student went from math major into IBM. So a lot of these kind of organizations hire from Ashoka. I think I've mentioned the roles. There's a lot of scope for the computer science students.
Yeah. Okay. The another question is, are there winter internships at Ashoka too?
Surely. So the college again breaks in winters for a winter break, which is for about, say, 5 to 6 weeks, mid of December to about third week of January. And that's your time and that's your window to take up winter internship. We facilitate this as well. We bring you opportunities for winter internships, but this is for smaller duration. But students do manage to take up different opportunities for their winter break as well.
Okay. So this is one more question related to internships only. So uh, they're asking, are the internships arranged by Ashoka team, or does the student have to look for internship for themselves? And can they look for an internship back in their own hometown or in their own city that they belong to?
Yes, of course, they can look for internships on their own where they come from. That's not a problem at all. But Ashoka also, that our main, like I said right at the beginning, our mandate is placements and internship, and we do look after the internship, opportunities for our students. So internships are actually gateway to boosting the quality and quantity of employable recruits at Ashoka University. And key internship recruiters so far has been Nestle, ITC, HUL, Adobe, Central Square Foundation, Indus Insight, etc. It's the highest internship stipends so far this year will be getting is 1.75 lakh by PayPal. That's another space which was going to a computer science student. So back to the same question from the previous question, computer science students have a lot of opportunity and they can do a lot. AI and ML are very strong as a part of the curriculum, is very strong. And many organizations are seeking students and talent pool who come from that kind of background.
Another question on internship. So they're asking that if a student gets internship on their own, which means they source the internship for themselves, will they still be given credit, or do they have to take the university sourced internship only to get a credit?
No, they could get their credit if they source it themselves, or if they have got it via the university. That is not a angle for credits.
No, yeah. Another question. So, if we want to apply to universities such as MIT, Berkeley, etc., for a master's, do we get help with essays, LOR, interview prep, the whole application process?
Yes, definitely. There are dedicated team members to help in university admissions.
Yeah. Okay. Coming to the next question, I think we've already answered these. What kind of companies come and hire computer science? We've already covered that. Okay, I'm just looking at any fresh questions because we don't want to repeat what we've already done. Okay, are admissions based solely on entrance exams and interview? Do I still have a chance if my 10th and 11th marks are not up to par? I shall answer this. This is very admission related. So the Ashoka admission process is a holistic admission process. You can apply irrespective of what your marks have been. So we are asking for your 3 years, your 10th, 11th, and 12th. 12th, you can, of course, put in your predicted grades. And we're not just looking at grades, but we're looking at you as a whole, which means your co-curricular, your extracurricular, your essays, your LOR, your aptitude, your interview, all of them will amount into whether you make it to Ashoka or not. So even if you've not done, or if you've been an average in your 10th and 11th, you still have a strong chance to get through Ashoka. So you can, apply to Ashoka. The next question is, do you have courses in finance? So I think, Jivish, do you want to answer what courses in finance did you experience at Ashoka?
Yeah. So courses in finance are offered by two departments. One of them is the Department of Economics and Finance. So when you're doing an interdisciplinary major, which is a BSc in Economics and Finance, then you can start doing finance courses from your fourth semester onwards. Courses usually span your introduction to finance, then courses on derivatives, courses on corporate accounting, etc. Then there is another department, the Department of Entrepreneurship, which offers more practical courses on finance, such as fundamentals of investing. So this year and also last year, fundamentals of investing was offered by the MD and CEO of Baring Private Equity India. There's another course offered again, introduction to finance, but more from a corporate management point of view, offered by the entrepreneurship department. Then there's another course called private equity and venture capital, again offered by someone who is leading a private equity fund in India, offered again by the entrepreneurship department. So you sort of cover the entire spectrum of courses that are offered, both from a theoretical point of view and also practical perspective via the economics department and the entrepreneurship department.
Okay, great. Yeah. Urmi, there's a question, very interesting. So a student wants to know what is the difference in opportunities for a student who does 3 years versus somebody who does 4 years, in terms of the job roles that they get in the industry.
Jinal, it really depends from organization to organization. A lot of the organizations, and when I say lot, I don't have the exact figure, but from my, just from my observation and memory, maybe 70 to 80% of the organizations open out roles for all the cohorts from the graduating class, which includes the undergrad class and the postgraduate class, which means the fourth year cohort, the MA and YIF, right? And it doesn't matter, as long as you are smart, you could be hired. A lot of time, like for instance, I remember one time a few years ago, McKinsey had opened out to all the cohorts and finally hired an undergrad student. Jivesh himself must have competed with other students, and he was an undergrad student who got a very robust role at Bloom, right? So it really does not matter. However, there are sometimes certain roles where the recruiter is kind of they insist on a postgraduate diploma, a postgraduate degree or a diploma, and in those cases, then the fourth year really is helpful. Also, the fourth year, you are staying on in campus for one extra year. You are doing, therefore, you're adding on to your knowledge. You're by doing extra courses. So in some ways, the fourth year does matter because you are then a little more stronger, a little more older also, perhaps, because you have been exposed to the Ashoka value system and the pedagogy for one full extra year. So the advantages are that you have a PG diploma in hand as versus a BSc or a BA honors degree. So you have a PG diploma in hand, and you would have done more courses, and therefore you would have done one more internship, and therefore you are a little more skilled to take on a few very specific roles.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Jeevish, this question is for you. Do the professors encourage you to take up any on-campus projects while you are studying at Ashoka? Or did you actually do any kind of projects with your professor or any research work or anything in your, 3-4 years at Ashoka?
I'll answer it more from the economics department point of view, but I'm sure other departments offer it as well. So there are two ways in which you can engage, actually three ways in which you can engage with the professor during the course of a semester. One is you can work with them as a research assistant. You can say, this is an area of research that I'm really interested in. I think this is also an area which you are researching in, and I can bring my skills and help you with data analysis, data scraping, etc. And you can work with them on a project that they are already working on. The other way in which you can work with them is something called as independent study module, where you say whatever courses are being offered in a semester, none of them are to my liking in the department, but I have another project area of my own for which I'd like to engage with the professor. I'll plan out my whole curriculum, what things will I be working on, and what areas will I be evaluated on. And at the end of the semester, so you work on that research project along with the professor throughout the semester, and then at the end of the semester, you are graded on it. And the third way in which you can engage with the professor is being a teaching assistant, which is you've done a course before and you think you have sort of mastered the course, and you can help the professor with teaching material. You can help them with grading the students. You can also help them plan the course curriculum. And you can apply, usually once you've done the course before, you can apply to be a teaching assistant for that course. So these are probably three areas in which you can work with the professor if you have a very strong area of research which you are deeply passionate about.
Yeah. Okay. The next question that we have is, for admissions, what is the weightage given to entrance aptitude test, and what kind of preparation is required? I shall answer this. So I think you're referring to the Ashoka aptitude assessment that is part of your, admission process. So it's an aptitude test. It doesn't require any preparation. It's basic creativity, English, logic, or critical thinking. There's a sample paper on the website. If you solve that, you'll be good to go and you will be able to take in the aptitude test. No preparation required for the aptitude test. The next question that we have is, what can we do in the break till we join Ashoka in August to improve our resume? So I'm assuming either you've got an offer and you're joining Ashoka, or you intend to join, Ashoka, and you're going to come to us in August. Urmi, do you have any tip for these students who are going to join us in August and they still have a couple of months to go? So they want to know what can they do during this time?
Well, congratulations if you have gotten into Ashoka, first of all, and you have just given your board exams, and that has been a tough year for you, right? So I would think in the summer you could relax a bit and you could read up a lot about certain different topics that you would want to explore at Ashoka. So just read books because I think that will improve a lot. If you do get an internship opportunity, take that up. But don't stress too much. You have 4 very long and robust years ahead in terms of education. 12th standard is not easy. So take a little break, read some books, do small internships. Maybe you can do some social work and just to make yourself a little more valuable if that is what you feel like doing. Otherwise, just relax.
Jivish, do you have any tip for our students who are going to join Ashoka? What do you think they should do?
I completely second Urmi's thoughts here. I think students work pretty hard for their 12th grade examinations. So 2, 3 months is a good enough time to sort of relax. Think more about what you'd like to do when you are at Ashoka, because 3 and 4 years will be extremely, extremely enriching. You'll have a little bit of FOMO in the first year because you will see there are so many things being offered and you would want to pick and choose what is it that you would want to do. So it helps to come in with an open mind. Don't be very, very close-minded as to what major you'll be doing. Just explore as much as you can. Try to do different courses because you never know which area sort of hits your interest. So yeah, I think reading books, exploring different areas and hobbies is a good thing. But yeah, once you've joined Ashoka, I'll say just keep an open mind and try to explore as much as you can.
Okay, thank you so much for those, I think, very insightful words to our students. With this, we've come to the end of our webinar. So thank you, Jivish. Thank you, Urmi. And it was a pleasure having both of you here and so much insights that you've given us. So I hope you enjoyed being part of our discussion on placements in higher education at Ashoka. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. Please take a minute to share your feedback with us. The link for the feedback form is provided in the chat box. Kindly note that the recording of this session will be available on Ashoka's YouTube channel in case if you think you missed it or your parents want to go through it or your friends want to go through it. Find this on the Ashoka YouTube channel. Before we end the session, I would once again like to inform our audience that the deadline for the round 3 applications for the undergraduate program is 12th of April 2024. You do not have to wait for your 12th board marks or your CUET to apply. If you have any further queries, you can write to us at ugapply@ashoka.edu.in or contact us on the numbers given on the screen. This brings us to the end of the session. Thank you, everybody, and take care. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Urmi. Thank you, Jivesh.
Thank you so much. Thank you.